Hey everybody, Jonathan Broadbent here, your host of UnWoke.Academy. Today we are going live. I have actually followed through on the conversation we had last week, or was that, well, the first one was 2 weeks ago now, on EV Mux. It's new software, new to me, I should say, new software to me that was recommended uh, by Ken Walls from Breakthrough Walls. He was a guest on my program, and we got talking about live streaming. The objective here, in case you missed the earlier message from me, I have had the great fortune of having an amazing array of guests on our program, from Tina Peters, who is the Gold Star mom, who is now in prison. She's actually behind bars because she was trying to be a whistleblower. She was the woman in Colorado who got her hands on a copy of a Dominion hard drive. I'm sort of paraphrasing the story and circumstances, but she was trying to get the information out about some questionable behavior around that Dominion hard drive in the days following an election. And if you're interested in that, and I think you should be, I really recommend it. Go back and do a search on UnWoke.Academy for Tina Peters. You're going to find the episode where she was kind enough to join me. We've had lots of great folks. Matt Tuttle has been a guest. We've had Justin Bernier, an array of other people from Patriot-owned businesses, and the objective is in the future to have them on and be able to go live, which gives you the opportunity to comment and ask questions. Speaking of which, I have opened up my screen here on this new to me software, EVMux. And if anything that I say prompts any curiosity, a question, or if you'd like to see us do a program like this, add it in the comments. Even if you're watching this on a replay, add it in the comments on whatever social media platform you're viewing this on with questions about funds that you're exposed to. I did a program about a week ago on catalyst funds, and I just picked one. It was not that also was not a recommendation to buy or sell catalyst funds, but more just gave us an opportunity to kind of dig in and look into catalyst funds through the lens of looking for non-woke managers, those managers who didn't buy they didn't buy the farm, they didn't drink the Kool-Aid and move themselves far left. So, what is a Contra Fund? Today we're looking at the Fidelity Contra Fund because, in theory, a Contra Fund is contradictory. That's what it stands for. And it should be something counter to the prevailing norm. So, for instance, if everybody isn't all invested in the top of the S&P 500, which, by the way, just recently experienced more consolidation. We haven't seen consolidation in U.S. markets this intense and bubble-like since the Great Depression, which means that just a few companies were receiving all the money. They were highly overcapitalized in my book. And you would expect a fund out there, a mutual fund or otherwise, that's doing something contra, and I'm air quoting that, the contra fund would be doing something contrary to prevailing norms. So let's drill down on the Fidelity Contra Fund and see how contra it actually is. As a precursor or follow-up to this, I suggest going back at UnWoke.Academy and look for the episode I did on Parade of Woke Sameness. In that episode, what I did is took a list of the top 100 mutual funds found commonly in 401k plans in the United States. I drilled down on that and looked at, I think we made it through about 35 of the top equity mutual funds, which are funds they invest in the equities of or stocks of companies. And it was unbelievably ridiculous, the commonality. So all these mutual funds, and it's sort of, if this doesn't tick you off, I don't know what will. I'm enraged by this. It's ridiculous. These mutual funds all had very different sounding names, and they give the impression that they're after a different objective. So any savvy investor, if you've got a 401k plan or something like it, you would look through and read the list, and anybody that doesn't go beyond the names would think that they're getting a nice diverse portfolio. Well, lo and behold, we've done all kinds of research into this. Many of those funds with very different sounding names from lots of different managers were effectively investing in the same small number of things, which is an egregious funneling of money, trillions of dollars. Actually, most recent estimates I've seen in the US of retirement dollars is $35 trillion. And a huge percentage of that, an inflated and ridiculous percentage of that, was directed artificially into a very small number of what I call globalist companies. So that led to the episode that I did called Parade of Woke Sameness, where I illustrate one after the other, like clockwork, tick, 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 how many of these managers were invested in the same gosh darn things with very different sounding names, and it's inappropriate. Um, we also did some of that in the evaluation that we did of an actual person who chose the screen name, the pseudonym Yosemite Sam. So for Yosemite Sam, we showed a huge mix of different sounding mutual funds, and ultimately, like 38 of them were very, very, very similar in their composition. So huge different array of mutual funds with almost no diversification, really. And it's awful. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to share a screen with you. It's just the same thing I did a week ago with those Catalyst funds as we did that analysis. I'm going to share a screen here. This is something called Morningstar. Here we go. And let me add this to the screen, and I'm going to change it. How about, nope, one of these settings. I'll get used to this yet. How about I remove me? and add. There we go. I'm back again. Bear with me. This, as I mentioned at the outset, this is new software that I'm using at the recommendation of Ken Walls from Breakthrough Walls. I'm checking out something called EV Mux. The intention is to use this more in the future for some of the lives that we do with guest speakers. And I've been very blessed and thankful to have had the array of amazing guest speakers I've had. This, in the future, will give you, my listening audience, the opportunity to ask questions and make comments. Speaking of which, if you are, whatever platform you're on, if you would like to add a comment, feel free to do so. Part of that, you can ask questions about mutual funds that you're exposed to in your IRA or your 401k. Please don't include any personal information. I'm not looking for that. All we would need is the name of the mutual fund or the ticker symbol, or give me both. I'll do the same thing. I can't promise to get to everybody, but after the one that I did at Catalyst, exposing Catalyst funds, I got questions about Fidelity Contra Fund. By the way, of all according to financial news site Kiplinger, the Fidelity Contra Fund, at their most recent publication of the list of top 100 mutual funds in the US, is number 6. So it tells me that a lot of people, I think, probably found this and went into the Fidelity Contra Fund thinking that they're getting something that, in my book, clearly they're not. They're not getting a Contra Fund. They're getting the same thing with a different label on it. So the other thing, give me 1 second here. I'm going to show you another cool trick. If you're ever in the position of evaluating, let me do this. I'm going to stop screen sharing, add a new one, and I'm going to show you this new tab. Hold on 1 second. FCNTX. Oh, FCNTX. There we go. This is what I wanted. All right. Now I'm going to share this screen. There we go. And again, a lot of people who ask questions about mutual funds. I'm happy to answer them. I will do as many as I can and do these kinds of explorations. But it's, in today's era with today's internet and smartphones, it's super, super easy. If you are not a fan of these woke companies, Meta, again, that's Facebook, Alphabet, that's Google. If you're not a fan of them, or maybe worse, you're against the behaviors, the corporate actions of some of these companies, like Costco has just gone through the ringer recently because they're embracing racist DEI, CRT garbage for training, and they're kind of doubling down against public sentiment. Or before that, you've had a whole bunch of other ones like Tractor Supply went through a big phase. A lot of people were boycotting Anheuser-Busch, which is the parent company of Bud Light. If you're going through that and you believe in something like that, this is actually a really easy way to see whether or not it exists in your portfolio. And frankly, if you are boycotting something, just pick a whatever, Target. Target went through a big, actually a couple of phases, a couple of rounds now of just doing woke garbagey stuff. And the public sentiment, the backlash was pretty severe. Frankly, from my vantage, the C-suite, the board and owners, the people that run companies like Target, they don't care. They probably, most likely, don't care if there's a boycott because they can sit there and watch the stock price go up anyway. Because the 35-ish trillion that exists in US retirement accounts can be used to prop up the stock price. And that ultimately, that's the incentive for a lot of these people in the C-suite and these big companies. It's not so much do the right thing and get lots of employees hired and maintain lots of different stores. I hate to say it, and I'm going to pick on Starbucks. Well, I almost switched over to Starbucks. That's a different story. I personally don't like Starbucks and their awful corporate behaviors. But anyway, sticking with Target, imagine, if you will, you're a Target C-suite and you run like global operations for Target, and you have 4 million shares of Target in your possession. And according to on paper, that makes you worth, I don't even know what it is, $1 billion. I'm just using round numbers. I haven't even looked up Target in a long time. I don't know where the share price is. It was down 13 billion in share price the last time when they were trying to sell like pornographic stuff or whatever it was. I think they were trying to sell satanic stuff and rainbow pride things to toddlers and infants, and it was just gross. Whatever it was, the public responded and the share price went down. That's a good thing. It's in addition to the boycott driving the share price down. But imagine if they get away with it and they do what they're told to do, kind of from the globalist cabal. I'm going to pause there and interject something because a lot of people wonder what that means. Like, what is the control tool that is used to force companies to do things that harm themselves? That's a side note, and I'll cover it in a different discussion. But it's called the Corporate Equity Index. Corporate Equity Index is kind of like a social credit score for corporations, and if they don't do the wokadoodle stuff and say no to the race baiting, gender theory, sexualization, just the awful stuff. If they say no to it, that score comes down, and their cost to borrow money and their ability to do international trade can be impacted. That's what forces them to behave in that way. But anyway, back to the corporate board. Imagine, if you will, that you're sitting on some corporate board and you own all those shares, and on paper, you're worth $1 billion if you were to sell those shares. Your trade-off, are you willing to do harmful things that closes some of your store locations, means layoffs, and really it demoralizes and harms the company brand if it means that the share price is going to be propped up if we get woke managers that pump money into the shares? And clearly, a lot of those people on boards all over the place have said, heck yeah, sure. Close down locations. Will suffer through all the bad press and bad coverage as long as my personal portfolio isn't harmed. And I think that's disgusting. Frankly, I think that's just gross. And it bugs the hell out of me. Excuse me. I That's a rarity for me. I don't normally cut the heck. It bugs the heck out of me. You can see I'm all ramped up. Um, it really, really bugs me that we have people out there that are willing to sacrifice the jobs of others, sometimes thousands of other people, and impact their brand and the corporate image in order to gain personally. That's what we have. And so that's the reason I've been saying that's why we started. It was actually originally Unwoke Investing, and that turned into UnWoke.Academy, where we've expanded and of what we cover. But at the end of the day, if you are one of those people that cares about where your money goes, and I encourage you to be one of those people, because where we invest is the future. Where we invest becomes tomorrow and what we experience. It goes back to um, the corralling of money into a small handful of globalist companies and away from free enterprise, free business, um, and the development of a great, thriving new economy for tomorrow. So ultimately, and this is me kind of reading the tea leaves, what I started to see, and I think we're it's going to be painful, I think, for a little while now, but we've seen the mass consolidation of capital, which is basically just money, the mass consolidation of money into a very small number of companies. And those companies have a lot of common ownership. These billionaires that own the companies, ultimately, in my view, their goal was to get to the point where they really controlled pretty much all goods and services. And the opposite of that is getting back to free market economy, where it's becomes hopefully easy again to open a small business, get through all the nasty regulatory hurdles to gain access to borrow money and get the next level, the next phase, the next world of small business enterprise that can recreate and bring back middle class America. You think about all the communities that used to be thriving and now they're just, I'm going to use an example. I've driven through, I'm thankful to have spent years crisscrossing the US. I've been in most of the states and sometimes as a guest to work on the state itself for their state level retirement plans, the public employee retirement systems, or PERS. I've worked on some of those and I kind of crisscrossed. And I've seen so many of these small towns that you can tell used to be thriving. And then now you go through and there's like 10 of the exact same companies, globalist mega companies over and over and over again. And I think what was sold to us for a long time, sorry, I'm waxing philosophical a little bit here. I'll get back to my point in a moment. But what was sold to us for a long time was that cheaper is better. Well, we're seeing the impact of cheaper and it's actually more expensive. The idea that we at least should have a choice and get back to the ability to have whatever it is, grocery store or haircut or oil change or service work on your car or whatever. The more competition there is, the more drive for quality and reasonable price, and the more it feeds local economies. What we have with that parade of woke sameness and the thing that I'm encouraging people to avoid is exactly the opposite. It's the mass consolidation of markets, and we haven't seen anything that bad or egregious since the Great Depression. I mentioned it earlier. The Great Depression saw many, many companies close all across the United States and the world, and just a few survived, and those that survived took over major business and then grew from a competitor into these monopolies or close to monopolies. That's really what capital markets have been driven to in my book over the last 5-ish years. Well, actually, it goes back prior to that, but it really, the pedal of the metal about 5 years ago, pumping massive money into a very small number of um, of companies. So, with that said, we have done another live stream. This gave me another opportunity to kind of kick the tires. Welcome, everybody. I see a number of people from a variety of different platforms have come on. I did finally figure out. I had to follow a step-by-step how-to, but I figured out how to live stream to Rumble. Whatever platform you're on, please do follow UnWoke.Academy, like this video, and share it out if you find it interesting or informative. I do plan on doing a lot of these. It gives me an opportunity to just reach out, say hello, talk about the process. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you one more thing. I almost forgot an important part here. One second. How could I have almost forgotten? I'm going to pull up, let's just pick Microsoft Corporation. So I'm looking back at the Morningstar, the list of holdings, the list of investments being made by that Fidelity Contra Fund. And I pulled up Morningstar Corporation. And there is one of many, many tools. Again, everything that I choose to use in these videos, in these discussions, is all public facing. So you've probably heard me talk about Inspire and our friends Matt and Drew, the financial planners from public facing tools that anybody can use. I almost forgot to bring that in. I am not seeing any comments from any of the different platforms, but again, thank you for tuning in and giving me this chance to do two things. One is test out this software. I now have actually purchased the EV Mux. I don't know what edition I'm using. I don't know, basic, I think, whatever it is. I think there were three, and I'm starting off with the entry level. It seems pretty cool to me so far. I'm kind of digging it. In the future, I do plan to have some guests on here. Last week, actually, we had Dr. Jerome Corsi. So that was my first opportunity to use this live with a person. So we were split screen, gives you opportunity to ask questions. If you watch this and decide, let's say you're at work, you go home, pull out or look up online your list of your different investments. If you'd like this for your investment, send us the ticker symbol and name. Again, you can also feel free to do this on your own. That's why I walk through step-by-step instructions. You can check out Morningstar. You can do a search for the mutual fund itself in the browser, whatever browser you use. You can also use Inspire Insight to figure out whether or not you like the investing that's being done for you. And one final note, if you're in a 401k plan and would like to build a portfolio that you know for sure is not invested in woke, anti American companies, causes, and countries, consider building a stock portfolio. It eliminates those management fees. There's a little bit of a trade off there. You will have trading costs, but overall, those usually I find are very, very low. It should be pretty easy to do an estimate of your total management costs to hire a manager like a mutual fund versus build a portfolio of stocks in a 401k plan. That's referred to as self-directed brokerage account, or SDBA for short, SDBA. There are some episodes that I've done on that on UnWoke.Academy, walking you through and showing people how to ask for that in your 401k if you don't already have it. It's a way of going beyond just that little limited menu of mutual funds and really getting access to probably virtually any investment. And at UnWoke.Academy, we want to do our very best to bring you good information and help encourage patriotic, pro-West, pro-American investors not to get their money tied up in the woke left stuff. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Take care.